MC Laubscher here, the host of the Cashflow Ninja podcast and also the president and chief wealth and investment strategist of Producers Wealth, where we help our clients integrate cash flow banking, also known as infinite banking, with their business and investments. If you're interested in learning more about how we create strategies that integrate cash flow banking and investments to turbocharge them, you can access a video series at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com.
Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast sharing how to create income streams and manage, multiply, and protect your wealth in the new economy. Here is your host inside the dojo, MC Laubscher.
Hello, Cashflow Ninjas. MC Laubscher here, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Ninja. I have a great show for you today, and in today's show, we're going to look how you can retire in 5 years or less by investing in apartments. My guest in today's episode is Brad Sumrok. Since 2005, Brad has personally helped these students purchase over 300 apartment complexes involving hundreds of investors, most of whom attended Brad's training. Many of Brad's students begin with no previous investing experience, and within a few short years, many have retired and or increased their net worth by over $1 million. In 2018 alone, Brad's students have purchased over $500 million in apartments nationwide. Brad has continued his own progression as an apartment investor since he retired in 2005. He has owned over 3,700 apartment units and has invested as an individual, syndicator, and passive investor. Brad's passions include his wife, Jen, family, travel, health, and fitness, and of course, his apartments and his students. His personal mission is to help 1,000 people retire from their jobs or become millionaires by transferring his 16 plus years of apartment investing experience to those who attend his training and events. When Brad is not mentoring and teaching, he spends his time with his wife and family, working out and traveling. The income from his apartment investing has allowed him to live life on his own terms, spend time with family and friends, enjoy 2 residences in Texas and Florida, and travel the world. Brad wants you to be able to enjoy the same quality of life that he and Jen have. Just a reminder, if you're interested in joining our investor group, you can go to cashflowninja.com/investor group and fill out an application form to see if you're a good fit for our group.
Are you having a hard time finding great investment properties? Unfortunately, the best deals are rarely found locally. Successful investing begins with the right properties in the right markets. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best deals across the United States. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly cash flow. Learn how to find the best deals by downloading your free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Passive Real Estate Investing at noradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.
Brad, welcome to the show.
Well, hey, I'm glad to be on it. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, very excited to connect. I'm a very big fan. I've been following you for a while. Before we get started, Brad, if you could share just a little bit about yourself, what you do, and share a little bit of your background and your journey with my listeners.
Sure. I mean, people ask like how I got started as a multifamily investor. And, I would just say that if you would have asked me 30 years ago, I would have never in my wildest dreams thought I would be doing this. Like so many other people, I went to college. My parents, I was raised in a blue collar environment right outside of Pittsburgh, actually. And my parents taught me to study hard and get good grades and go to college. And neither of my parents have a degree. So, I studied engineering, I got a job, I went back and got an MBA, and my goal was to move up in the company. But after 17 years of corporate America, being fired once, being laid off once, I actually, when I was in my early 30s, started studying for the LSAT, and thought, well, maybe I'll try law school, And, but fortunately, I picked up the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. And that was the first time in my life that I really got on this path of being a business owner and investor. And that's what led me to apartment investing.
And you've had a lot of success there. And now you're teaching and sharing everything that you've learned along your journey. The current apartment market, what markets are you guys operating in and investing in? And what type of properties are you investing in as well?
Well, for 16 years, I mean, I still follow the same recipe, and I do it myself, and I teach this recipe to other people. So when we look at markets, we look at markets that are landlord and business friendly, that have higher than average cap rates, that have higher than average job growth and population growth. So, that includes markets like I currently own in Texas, and within Texas, I own in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Wichita Falls. I have a property in Columbus, Ohio, Jacksonville, Florida, looking at a deal in Phoenix. I've owned in Colorado. So all of those states, I may have missed, one or two markets, but all of those states have, landlord and business friendly environments. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you're in an environment that's landlord friendly, it means that if they don't pay the rent and you have written leases, that you could, have them removed or evicted from your property in a short period of time. So in most of these markets, 30 days, they don't pay, they don't stay. If we're in markets like California or Seattle, from what I've heard, and I've never owned in these markets, but it can take 6 to 12 months to get somebody out of your property. And I don't think that's fair. I mean, if I go eat in a restaurant, I got to pay for the food. If I go to Lowe's, I got to pay for the merchandise that I buy. So why is it fair that somebody could, use my product without paying the fee associated with it? So that's important to me. And I've been following that recipe. And then, like I said, I look for better than average cap rates, which is an indication of the rate of return that's available, job growth and population growth. So for that reason, Texas, Florida, the Southeast, and the Southwest are generally the places where I look. Now, in terms of what type of building, I buy existing apartment buildings, B and C class. Generally, I say buildings that go sideways and not up and down. And what I mean by that is we're not buying or building high-rise A-class properties and, the expensive and urban core parts of town. We're buying the garden style B and C class, which caters to generally families making $30,000 to $60,000 a year. And these buildings are generally built in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So that's pretty much what we buy and where we buy and why.
What is your opinion of what's currently going on in the marketplace and where we are in the market cycle, and what's going on specifically in these markets that you operate in? Because of course, every market's different. What are some of the things that you're seeing?
Well, things are a lot more competitive. I mean, it's no secret that multifamily, hasn't always been the darling of real estate, but over the last several years, it has been. And so we see a lot of, some people call it stupid money or hot money or aggressive money, that's coming in from, hedge funds or international or just people that traditionally have not been in the multifamily sector, have been coming into the sector. And that has forced, prices going up, and it's been a seller's market. So what it means for us is that, we just have to be more diligent than ever. We lose more deals than we win, and we look at a lot of deals sometimes to find one that meets our underwriting criteria. However, I mean, I'm still buying selectively, and my students have bought over 50 apartment buildings this year just since January. So, if you stick to your guns, and it's also about building relationships and having focus. And so, the last deal I bought, I closed it in June, and I looked at one deal. I decided I was going to buy a property. In the next couple of months, I found a deal. I underwrote it. I drove by it. I made an offer, and I closed on it. So I don't always have to look at 700 deals and just being facetious, but I don't always have to look at hundreds of deals to find one. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, and it all comes with experience of looking at deals and analyzing deals, so when a good deal is coming across your desk.
Well, and so many people are looking like in so many different markets, and they'll have, an underwriter on their staff, and they're like, oh, I've looked at 700 deals and I couldn't find one. And I could say that I've never done that in 16 years. I look in a few markets and I reach out to a handful of brokers, and I have great relationships with these brokers. And generally, me and my students, we get the first look on some of these deals, before, in many cases, before they're brought out to the market in general.
Now, Brad, one thing that I find really intriguing about your story is the mindset that you approached investing with. I know you're a very big fan of Tony Robbins. You spend a lot on personal development and claim heavy importance of that, which is fantastic. I think what would be very valuable for our listeners is to maybe share your story and your first deal. Because unlike a lot of folks starting maybe with a single family and then upgrading and moving, you started directly with 30 plus units, correct?
Yeah, and mentorship has and still does play a big role in my life. And, the truth is, in the beginning, look, a lot of people, they go to college and then they get a second degree and they feel like, and I did, I'll be honest, I felt like I was smart and educated and successful. And I'm thinking, well, what do I need a mentor for? Like, that's why I went to college. But, when I got into real estate, I realized that, having a mentor was critical. And I started by going to a seminar, and I had a mentor, and I had a real estate mentor. And, I've been to Tony Robbins, and Tony, I've been to most of his trainings, the basic and advanced trainings on business and leadership and life and health. And I met my wife there, and I've had mentors for doing events and for speaking on the stage. And so in this, physically, personal trainers, and just about every aspect of my life that I excel at, I've had a mentor or multiple mentors. So I see so much information right now on, Facebook and Instagram and blogs and Bigger Pockets. And these are all, fine and dandy. But the reality is that none of these sources of information are going to be there to hold somebody's hand, especially when, if I could say, the shit hits the fan. You're in the middle of a transaction and you need to call somebody with experience. And I see people making posts like, hey, what do you think about this? And I see all these people chiming in and saying, well, what about this? What about this? And a lot of these people that are chiming in, they haven't been there. They haven't done that. They're just, speculating, maybe because they read a book or they heard about it. So like for me, being able to follow the advice of somebody that's done what it is that I wanted to do is critical. And Tony talks about that. He said, success leaves clues. And if you want to be successful, you find the best person in the world or the best person that's available, to hold your hand and help you. So that's a huge part of, my belief system. And, someone might say, well, what's the secret to your success? It's leveraging that experience of a mentor. So, because I did that, I was able to skip single family altogether. And again, not that there's anything wrong with single family. You can make money in anything you set your mind to. But for me, my goal was to replace $10,000 a month of my W-2 income. And I just felt like single family was going to take me a long time. And so it made more sense to me to focus on buying larger assets with more doors under one roof that I could have professionally managed, so that I could be on the right side of the cash flow quadrant, which Robert Kiyosaki talks about, being a business owner and investor, instead of doing everything myself, renting and putting for rent signs and taking phone calls and showing the houses and knocking on doors and collecting rent and being a handyman. I've never had to do any of that.
And maybe you could share a little bit more information about that first deal and the lessons that you learned, which you take with you on your investing journey.
Yeah, so my first deal was 32 doors, and it was just under $1 million. And so many people ask, well, how did you buy it? How did you finance it? Well, the truth is, I worked in corporate America for 17 years. I saved my money. I read books like The Millionaire Next Door. I lived below my means. I had a financial planner, and I was putting money in my 401k since I was 22. So, I actually had, $200,000 was my life savings. And I put that as a down payment on my 32 unit apartment. And I secured a conventional, fixed rate, long-term loan for the debt piece. And so 20% down, 80% loan. And the good thing is I made a lot of money on that deal. The bad thing was I didn't have any more money to do more deals. And that's the power that I learned, that I do now and I teach other people to do, is syndicate deals, is where you put in some of your own money and then you raise money from other people so that you could buy and control more units, go bigger faster. And it's easier when you have more units because now you could hire a full-time staff. For example, my 32 unit, I had a part-time manager, a part-time maintenance person. And then when I got up to 60 doors, I had a full-time property manager there that had a higher skill set. And she was there, 40 hours a week. And I couldn't afford to hire that person to run a 30-unit deal because you don't have enough income to make that, expense, rational. And the same with a maintenance person. So, by going, 60 doors, you could have a full-time manager, a full-time maintenance person, property management company, all baked into your numbers. And they do just about everything for you, including doing the books and the financial reporting. Whereas a 30-unit property, you're going to be doing a lot of that yourself.
And then scaling from there, obviously, raising capital is a big one. What were some of the strategies that you used to grow your network, and then also position yourself for the next deal and the next deal?
Well, the easiest way to grow a network is, I hear things like your net worth is your net worth. And that's only true to an extent. And sometimes it's completely not true because I've met people that have, this huge network, but none of the people in their network are qualified investors. So, I would say your network of qualified investors and of service providers that could add value to you and your business is more, true in terms of your net worth. So you want to find people like just say if you want to syndicate an apartment deal, well, first of all, if you're talking to people about investing, it's easier if they already understand the benefits of real estate. I mean, look, if you got to go to Starbucks and talk to a stranger that never met you before, and you have to convince them that putting money in real estate is better than a 401k or an IRA, that's a tough sale, and that's a lot of one-on-one conversations. And I've never had to do that. I've always gone to, real estate networking events, apartment real estate networking events where the people there were already tuned in and interested to invest in the type of asset class that I wanted to invest in. So that's one of the quote secrets is, it's like if you're fishing, I've never really been a fisherman, but my dad used to take me fishing and he would talk about, you got to go to a pond that's stocked with fish. So if you're looking to raise money, you got to hang out with people that are qualified investors that are already on board with the type of asset class that you want to invest in. And that makes it so much easier. So I've never done what some of the people are out there teaching, build a credibility book, build a website. I've had, thousands of units and I never had a website or, had to pitch deals to walk up to strangers and talk to them and build those relationships. And then, explain to them the benefits of real estate. I was able to build a relationship and they were already on board with apartment investing. And I met those people at, real estate seminars and training events. And now, of course, as you know, we do those type of events ourselves. And there are hundreds of people from all over the country that are coming for one reason. And they're coming to get content and to build their network of qualified people that could potentially invest with them.
Brad, maybe you can share a little bit more about some of these courses and some of these live events and some of your student success stories too, because it's just quite remarkable the amount of deals and the amount of capital that your students have been able to the deals done in the capital raise, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about my students, and one of the reasons I got into helping other people is, the first person I helped was myself, and I was able to, work myself out of the rat race within 3 short years of investing in apartments. And I'll never forget how I felt when I was able to actually resign from that 6-figure job. And, And so, when I quit my job, I was 38. And within a few short months after quitting, I realized that, retirement for me wasn't just going to be sitting on a rocking chair at the age of 38, drinking pina coladas on a beach. Right.
Right.
So that's when I decided that, I'm going to help other people do what it was that I did. And so the best way for me to do that was to, help other people that wanted, to invest in apartments. So that's my why. And it still is today. It's like, I actually get more excited, and I still love buying deals because they make money, but I actually get more excited about, doing a seminar and seeing hundreds of people, light bulbs going off in their heads, through a weekend training, and then seeing some of these people taking action and buying deals. And that just gives me a lot of juice. So my students this year, since January 1st, have bought or have under contract 50 apartment buildings all over the country. And if you add up the price of all these buildings, it's over $500 million, like billion with a B, dollars. And that's a lot. So we're not buying it's like 7,000 doors. So do the math, 7,000 doors divided by 50 apartment buildings. That's over, 140 unit per transaction. And a lot of these people started just like me with no previous experience, so we're not buying 2, 4, 6, 8 units. We're buying 60, 80, 100, 200 unit apartment buildings.
You're listening to Brad Sumrok on the Cashflow Ninja podcast. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Life settlement investments have allowed financial and banking institutions to not only buy their equity contractually, but also diversify their capital from any economic, market, and geopolitical risk. It's been part of the billion-dollar blueprint followed by institutional investors. And if you're an accredited investor, you can also now participate in this vehicle with enormous growth potential. You can watch an informational webinar presented by one of the premier organizations providing life settlement investments, Penumbra Solutions, at cashflowninja.com/life settlements. You're listening to Brad Sumrok on the Cashflow Ninja podcast, and now back to our interview. And you've created a blueprint for these students. And one of the things that you mentioned, which I see online as well, is there's, when you need someone that's already been there to get advice on a deal, a lot of those folks, a lot of the programs doesn't really include that. That's something that you've created within your community, that level of help and assistance and guidance and support as well.
Yeah, that's correct. So I personally look at every deal, and let me just clarify that. I look at the underwriting of every deal my student buys. I mean, I don't fly out to, every city that people are buying and go walk properties. I can't do that, but I look at the underwriting of every deal that my students have purchased. I have multiple team members that also put their eyes on it in addition to me. We make ourselves available to walk them through, the steps of, setting their goals and finding the deals and underwriting the deals and walking them through the due diligence, and any questions or challenges that come up during the transaction, we're available. In addition to that, we're not just providing that coaching and education. We leverage our Rolodex of experienced lenders and attorneys and brokers. And so we really could, by somebody new plugging into the ecosystem that we've created, they could really go from in layman's terms, 0 to 60, like we talk about cars going 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. I mean, people could get up to speed pretty quickly. And they could find, by coming to our training events, they could find potential people to invest with them. So, what I wanted to create, and I think we have, is not only information, not only coaching, but an entire program that provides somebody everything they need to be a successful apartment business owner.
One habit I've observed from wealthy and successful people is that they're always studying new subjects and learning new skill sets. What are you currently studying, and what new skill sets are you currently learning?
Well, I'm always studying the market, because I just think that it's important. I'm a specialist. So in case that, that people don't know. Like people ask me about other asset classes. So I can tell you what I'm not studying is I'm not studying, mobile homes and notes and, different asset classes. Because why? Because I'm an apartment specialist, and there's always going to be a need for, workforce housing. And when I say workforce housing, I mean the B and C class, the people making 30 to 60,000 a year. And so that's what I specialize in. So from there, just like a doctor, like an orthopedic surgeon, and they're constantly doing continuing education, and so am I. So I go to a lot of industry events, and I stay current with what's happening with financing and cap rates. And on a bi-monthly basis, I get on a webinar and I share that information with all of our students so that they could benefit from that. So that's one of the main things that I constantly do. And then like you said, I'm a big believer in personal growth, and Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone is one of my, new mentors. And I'm not sure if you are aware, but like when we did our last apartment investor conference, we actually had Grant Cardone come as a keynote speaker. And my wife and I, spent 4 hours with him afterwards having dinner. And, we do not have like a formal relationship where I pay him for coaching, but through us working together and our organizations being involved, together, and some of the communications we've had, I'm learning a lot from him. So I identify people, like Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone, and people that have, what I want to have. They have larger businesses, and they have more customers and more money, and they help more people. And I study what they're doing so I could have the same result. Personally, I just want to say, like, I phase. I don't want to say phase in and out, but I've always been interested in fitness and health. And, so right now I'm going through some of that where, I take care of my body, and a lot of people probably heard of intermittent fasting, but that's one of the things that I'm kind of into right now on a personal health and fitness level. And that seems to be working out pretty good for me as well. But again, I find somebody that's done it. I follow their proven process. And to me, that's really the formula to be successful, is you find somebody that's done something that not only have they done it for themselves, but they have massive results in helping others, and then just follow their formula, and it works.
Absolutely. Now, a core message in our show is to leave our families, communities, and the world better than we found it by passing down a mindset, values, and principles to future generations, not just money. So if you cannot pass on any money to future generations, and we're only allowed to pass on 3 principles to them to build wealth and achieve happiness and success, what would they be?
Well, that would probably be something that, I'll probably change my answer after I answer it and I get off the show and say, maybe I should have answered that differently. But I will say that, one of the reasons I do seminars is that if I can get through, we're going to have 600 plus people November 10th and 11th. And so one is just, the mindset that they're responsible for their own, financial independence. And, if somebody took away my money, I honestly believe that I could still go out, in the next 12 months and make 7 figures based on what I know. Okay. So I don't believe that it takes money to make money. I believe that it takes the right specialized knowledge and having the experienced team to be successful. So that would be one thing is invest in yourself and make sure that you have and I hate to say knowledge. I don't know if that's the right the right word, because I don't necessarily believe knowledge is power. It's knowledge plus action, but you need to have the right mindset and the right team and the right, head on your shoulders, so to speak, so that you can go out. And that's one of the things I love about, education. And the other, another one is the concept of charity. When I started, all I wanted to do was retire from my job. And then I wanted to make $1 million net worth. And then I wanted to make $1 million a year. And I've done all those. And so now one of my goals is to donate $1 million to charity. And, we've enrolled a lot of our students and event attendees to share in our journey with that. So so far we've raised over $80,000 to the Wheelchair Foundation. and, $150 buys a wheelchair, and we're actually going to Ecuador, and we're bringing like 20 students with us that have, joined us in this passion and this mission to help other people. So I know there were two there, the knowledge, the information, the mindset, the charity. I don't know if that covers 3 or not, but I think at the end of the day, you just got to do what feels right, and, for some, it's the religious belief, and others, it's just a moral compass, but at the end of the day, for me, I want to go to bed feeling like that I treated people right. And, it starts with my wife, my family, my students, my clients, my service providers. And for me and those that are listening that actually know me is that, look, I'm human. There are times where I may have snapped at somebody or said something that, wasn't appropriate. And I usually, call those people and address it with them and just say, hey, I'm sorry. And, let's hit the reset button here. And so I just think, going to bed every night with a clear conscience and not keeping, not having things bugging you that keep you up at night. That's important for me.
Thank you so much for sharing those. There's something about live events, right, Brad? You can study stuff online, and I do a lot. I take a lot of courses, but there's something about live events, and especially seeing folks such as yourself on stage, and then obviously meeting like-minded people that really can't be captured anywhere else. And you've got an upcoming event this weekend, the 10th and the 11th of November. Could you share a little bit more information about that and where listeners can attend this event?
Yes, and yes, and I will just say that a live event blows away, like for me personally, blows away anything I've done online. And the reason is, like even Tony Robbins, he'll talk about his formula for learning is full immersion followed by spaced repetition. And what that means is you immerse yourself in his seminar for 3, 4, or 5 days, and then you go away, and then, you come back at some point in time. And you're not just coming back for motivation and inspiration, but, the human mind is, for many people, that's how they learn. So, that's how we've structured our program. So we do 3 weekend trainings a year. We do them in March, July, November. The next one, as you mentioned, is November 10th and 11th in Dallas. And, it's a 16-hour immersion. So you're getting content, and I'm the only speaker at this event. So this is not a multi-speaker event where you're going to be teased by 12 different speakers. It's me, and I start at a high level with mindset. And by the end of day 2, we're, analyzing deals and going through due diligence. And in each hour and a half segment, builds on the previous one. And we also do a property bus tour. So I not only, have classroom theory on finding deals and analyzing deals and funding deals and setting goals and identifying your target markets, but I take them in the field and I can show them what the B and C properties look like in Dallas so that when they go back to their neck of the woods anywhere in the country, they know what type of property we're looking at. They know what it looks like, and, they know the demographics, and they know what the neighborhoods look like. So, so that's the core of our education program, is an immersion. And then, of course, we offer, online trainings and coaching and those types of things. And then we offer events for people that, continue in our advanced programs so that they could, go home and study more online. And then they come back every now and then to headquarters and they keep learning. And when you're learning surrounded by other people that are around you that are doing it, like Tony Robbins says, one of the powerful concepts of learning is surrounding yourself with peers that are also doing it. And so it's like a built-in mastermind and accountability all into one event.
Fantastic. Brad, where can they learn more about this event? Where is there a webpage they can visit? And where can my audience and my listeners around the world follow you stay informed of all the projects that you're involved with?
Yeah, it's real simple. So they just need to go to bradsumrok.com. And there's no C in my last name. So it's BradSumrok.com. And then there's a live events tab to register for November 10th and 11th, or to look at any other events that we're going to do in the future. I'm also on Facebook, again, Brad Sumrok, Instagram, Brad Sumrok. So, that's it. Pretty simple.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us and coming on the show and sharing your journey and your knowledge and providing so much value for my listeners, Brad.
Awesome. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
MC Laubscher here, the creator and host of the Cashflow Ninja and president of Producers Wealth. And I'm on a mission to help you achieve economic and financial freedom as quickly as possible. I achieve this by integrating the infinite banking concept with real estate investments to increase your efficiency and returns and recapture cash flow that you're not even aware of that you're losing. I share the number one strategy for investors in my holistic wealth creation course at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com. Thank you for joining me again on the Cashflow Ninja. Thank you for all your support. You rock. If you like what you hear and appreciate what we're trying to build here at the Cashflow Ninja, please subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes and share our show with family, friends, and your network. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can sign up for our newsletter at cashflowninja.com or text Cashflow Ninja to 44222. I'm also posting daily videos on Facebook and YouTube and will live stream weekly starting May 2018. To make sure you don't miss any of the live streams, please like and subscribe to my Facebook and YouTube platforms. I'm also dropping content on Instagram daily. Be sure to follow us on Instagram to get in on the action. I want to thank you for spending your most precious resource with me today, your time. That's our show for today. Until next time, live a life of passion and purpose on your terms. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.